Crystal Charter, daughter of the Red Seal. Read and written by Rebecca Sewell. The Cave. She had wept her eyes raw, had run across her reflection until her lungs felt as though tiny daggers were carving them up. Then she wept more. Her fists pounded into the water as she screamed for help, only to see her own face staring uselessly back at her when the ripples stilled. With her back resting against the bed of bone-white stone, she watched how far the water would shudder when she stamped her now bare feet down. The delicate pale slippers that she had been dressed in when she had awoken had been tossed, a small lump in the distance. In moments of sensibility, she had rationalized it was a good move to mark positions in the infinite cave, but the reality was she threw them as far as she could in a dampened rage. Silence pulled her gaze towards the stars, drawing her in with their humming power. Whenever the urge became overwhelming enough to make her stand, she forced herself to run again. Emotions were drained away in her prison, but exhaustion remained. There was no way to count how long she had been trapped. More than hours. More than days. Or weeks, maybe. She sat still long enough for her dress to dry, fascinated by watching the fabric hungrily absorb liquid whenever she moved again. There was no thirst, hunger, or desire to sleep. Once, she forced herself to drink water from the basin, despite not needing to. There had been no satisfaction, no sensation at all, and she envied her gorged dress. Thud. The mirrored stars rolled across the ground for a few meters before stopping to match their overhead counterparts. Thud. The same distance. Thud. The same distance. Boredom found her on her feet, gazing into a thumbnail-sized star again. She couldn't remember standing up. Her hands cupped it, tempted by the unwavering light, pupils wide with temptation and bewitchment. Self-control inched her hands away slowly, and she took control of her body with a deep breath, to take a step back. Pressure brushed the top of her head for a fleeting moment. A low-hanging star. My eyes open in a lush carriage, for only a second before I squeezed them tightly shut again, long enough to see an old woman opposite me and her terror-struck face. The carriage is going far too fast. Not again, please, not again. I want to weep. The driver, girl, is he still alive? The old woman screams at me. One of her veiny hands clutches the worn seat in a withered grip, the other a post by the window. I scramble to grasp my own window post, threading my arm in to hold me against the bone-rattling bouncing. Do you know who I am? I spit out through chattering teeth. What of all the... Is he alive, girl? Hesse said the crossbowmen were waiting. A hard jolt cut her off. I don't know, I shrieked back. You just check. Then we are falling. The horse screams from outside the carriage. Everything's a blur of limbs and skirts. A world of spinning and jolting pain, splashes of blood. My arm cracks as the carriage is thrown one way, and my hand remains stuck in the bar that I had wrapped it around. Gore-covered bone juts out of the ripped flesh. It's happening again. I want to scream, but being thrown against the carriage roof forces the air from my lungs. I open my eyes briefly to see the old woman's head, twisted at a strange angle, tear through the carriage space towards me. Her empty expression shoots through the gap between us. The impact of her frail body is enough to knock me from awareness. I wake up, legs screaming in pain, as the weight of the carriage pins them down. I'd been partially thrown out of a broken window, but not clear of the heavy wreckage. I try to push myself up, only to find a blinding pain rip through me. My arm from the shoulder is twisted in the wrong way, bone snagging on the torn skin below my elbow. Thick blood darkens the fabric of another dress I do not recognize. Oi, the girl's still alive. We was supposed to stop both of them. A rough voice calls behind me. I can't move enough to see who spoke. I got it, answers another man. Help, please. I try to call, but my voice barely croaks out into a whisper. Seconds pass into an agonizing eternity, punctuated with throbs of pain. What's taking so long? Calls the first voice again, with obvious irritation. Bolt's bloody jammed in it, grunts the deeper, harder voice. Oh, never mind, I'll do it, was his response. A slender man strolls into my view. He's dressed in unusual clothing, not dirty or poorly made, but well worn, a huge knife in his belt. I know he's going to kill me. His eyes are too cold to contain even a spark of mercy. I know this from just a glance, and still, I cannot pull myself free. It's a shame. She's quite pretty, this one. Not often sent after pretty things. He complains to no one in particular. I want to mutter for help again, but I see a piece of carriage wreckage in his hands, a long heavy piece that responds to his swinging grip and collides with my vision. She fell into a heap on the floor, shuddering. The horror too quickly evaporated away, leaving her hollow. Phantom pains continued to make the muscles in her arms and legs twitch. An ache in her chest told her she should be struggling for breath and crying with despair. Instead, she lay down, watching the thin strip of water before her catch light from the stars. The fingers of her restored hand breaking the delicate surface of the liquid. She blew a ripple from her cheek, uncomfortably resting on the flat, wet rock, and watched those lights flicker. Her dry sleeves sucked up the water like blood from her last death, making her shudder. What do you want from me? She whispered into the cave, setting the grounded lights dancing again. What do you want from me? She screamed into the empty space before her. Hours passed in stillness. Maybe days. It was impossible to gauge time. The stars couldn't move, and the sun never visited. She found herself staring into another orb, transfixed by its dull magic. She had occupied her time by hunting for the tiniest light hidden among the bounty of shining death, something to take the edge off the beckoning glow. Then watched helplessly as her finger flowed towards it. The beautiful sky is painted overhead, unmarred by even a single cloud. The rocky meadow stretches out in front of me, and the hooting of the other riders sounds all around. Riders, I think. I can't ride. The horse's head is flat, the wind billowing its mane into my face, and my instant reaction is to sit upright, arms and legs splaying in a panic of adjustment. I know it's the wrong thing to do as soon as I feel my rear lift from the seat. Then that perfect blue is below me, and the rocky green is falling from above. Crack. She lay on her back and laughed, a hysterical noise ringing out at the stupidity of it all. The crack still reverberated along her bones, from the unmistakable sound of her neck breaking, fractured fatally upon impact. She missed home. Not just her family, but people, towns, flowers, food, daylight, clouds, even the moon that illuminated the night sky. The isolation of her starlit prison would drive her insane with time. Already, the echo of her own maniacal laughter had fluttered around the cave and formed voices. Already, eyes were burning into her from a distance. Eyes belonging to a girl and boy of ethereal beauty who exchanged confused glances. I'm not mad, she thought, spinning onto her stomach to make the world upright, palms flat in the water. Not yet, at least. They're real people. She rushed to her feet and they vanished. She twirled around, fearing they had disappeared like the voices. Relief, they were stood fractionally closer, both watching her with an intense curiosity from the other side of her stone bed. The lifelong instinct to straighten her gown and neaten her hair kicked in. It made another dark laugh escape her lips. "What do you say to the first witnesses of your nightmare?" she thought. Her mouth opened. "Hello,"